and welcome to Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast with your host, Buddy Sotelo Esquire, Evan Ginsberg, and Dr. Mike Leno. Okay, folks, so we have a little bit of a card change, but still there's a lot of stuff to talk about. In fact, one of the things I wanted to talk about even has nothing to do with pro wrestling, but I just watched the Conor McGregor fight, all 2.5 minutes of it.
Did you have to wait, Russ? Because with this stupid app, which I tried getting it. What is it? The Paramount Plus?
I didn't. I watched it on Daily Motion a day later. I didn't have to pay a dime to see it.
Yeah, I think they're going to probably throw it on. But these people that pay, you got to pay to be on Paramount Plus, and then you got to pay $40 or more if you're going to get it in real time. I don't get it, because the Ronda Rousey thing that I went to, that wasn't even worth the drive. It was over in 9 seconds.
This one was. It was longer. 10 minutes of ring entrance. 10 minutes of ring entrance. Solid.
I think he knew he's only in it for money now, because he's getting up there in age. Not that he's not a total legend, but he's had setbacks monetarily. He got in trouble and paid lots of fines, allegedly, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. So Russ finished, but I heard his leg. I didn't even bother to watch it yet. The leg went out really quickly.
He slipped on the mat, fell on his back, kind of clawed a little bit with his legs, just a tiny little bit, got up, fell down again, his legs were flailing, then got up and the next time and sort of just kind of limped with one step, and the ref just called it.
But they didn't bring in the ring doctor?
No, he threw a kick and he landed wrong on the leg, and they said he blew out his knee or his ACL, and basically he was crippled. He couldn't even stand, and the ref called it.
And, it was no contact. It was he didn't hurt it. He didn't get hurt by his opponent. He pulled a Kevin Nash basically, and hurt himself.
Well, it was more like Shane McMahon that time, when his leg just suddenly went out at the beginning of the WrestleMania match or whatever that was. And some of those people spent 4 figures or maybe even 5 figures with the VIP packages, and it was an all-time stinker. That was right up there with Ali Inoki and.
That lasted a while. It was bad, but at least you got your money's worth as far as time went.
Mayweather Pacquiao left a bad taste in your mouth. Bryan Danielson and Sheamus that went 30 seconds at WrestleMania. This was an all-time stinker, and people spent good money on it. And that's why I won't spend huge money on anything.
And no desire by UWF to say, you know what? We're going to offer you guys a refund. That's one where you actually,
The $26 million gate, they're not offering a refund.
No, it's all about money now with that company, TKO. We've seen it. But again, that's why pro wrestling is your better value, because injuries like that are very rare, and being scripted, choreographed, etc.
Well, it's also not centered around one single match. That's a big deal, It's
well, how about with the undercard? Did you watch any of the undercard?
No, because I have no interest in it. I don't know. You can't name anybody that's on the undercard. I can't. It didn't have any big name wrestlers. So Conor McGregor was absolutely the draw for that night, but we all know he's only back after X amount of years away.
5 years away.
What was the thing you watched? You said Daily Motion. Was that the site?
Daily Motion. Yeah, that's where I catch everything the day after. The most of the WWE pay-per-views and AEW pay-per-views. I got dailymotion.com, and they almost always have whatever wrestling.
So what you're doing is publicly endorsing pirating.
It's not me. I don't run Daily
Motion.
You're not profiting from Daily Motion.
I don't run dailymotion.com. If the feds want to shut it down, by all means, go ahead and do it. I think they're in like, the Netherlands or something
There's
like that.
there's lots of sites. We know that.
It's true, and you get rid of one, and like 10 others will just spring up. I mean, it's a losing battle for the cable companies to try to go after these guys because they just it's like a million gopher holes.
But what about the response for Connor? Was the crowd popping big for him?
No, the announcers all looked depressed and sad, like somebody kicked their granny. It was like a balloon that popped. Everybody was psyched. He came out with the strut. Everybody was hyped. It was over in like 30 seconds. Jeez. He threw one kick and the thing was over.
and it wasn't even like, well, okay.
No, the Ronda thing, at least it was a submission. So, okay, exactly. That's fine. And she's won matches like that before, so that was athleticism.
Right.
But it was so bad. It was so bad. Holloway, his opponent, was telling the referee to stop it. He didn't want to punch the guy because the guy
he was talking to the referee saying, "Why don't you stop this already? The guy can't defend himself. Should I keep hitting him?" He was asking the ref, "Do I need to keep hitting this guy, or are you going to stop the match?" I've never seen a wrestler do that before.
All right. Let me ask you two experts. Can Connor make a comeback after this, or is it over for him?
Oh, he's done.
Nobody's going to pay.
Over.
He hasn't won a fight in 10 years. He hasn't fought in 5 years. He's got another year of rehab in front of him to fix this one. At that point, he'll be almost 40. I mean, he should just go into WWE and do the strut and do the shtick, and he'd be better off like Rousey, make some quick money.
This is a hell of a promo. If nothing else, he's a hell of a promo. I think he's good.
He can be a heel manager.
The 10 minutes worth of intro for him to walk to the ring.
That's really messed up.
Stultifying. It is. They look. If someone has a ring entrance that's longer than how long they actually fight, every minute that the ring entrance goes should be a 10% refund back to the audience.
Wait a minute. With Ultimate Warrior, you prayed for a longer entrance than the actual match because he was so bad.
Oh, I should add that Ultimate Warrior and Andre the Giant bought it on consumer fraud. As did Bob Backlund and Diesel. I was there at the Garden. That was over in seconds.
Sure, but at least they had
no
other
refunds
matches.
offered. WWF didn't offer refunds for that shit.
No,
no. Vince McMahon again. The day he offers a refund for anything, probably would be a broke guy if he ever offered refunds for dissatisfying.
I was happy when Backlund came back as the heel character, which he refused to do, which is why Vince got rid of him. Sadly, when Vince Sr. was out of the picture. But I was hoping maybe we'd have more Backlund, Brett, perhaps. Well, Flair was already gone, but Flair Backlund would have been great if you've seen the only match they ever had, which was a title versus title thing.
I'll tell you another huge ripoff. I was a huge Billy Graham fan, so he's defending his title at the Nassau Coliseum against Haystacks Calhoun. He comes in the ring, he clobbers Calhoun from behind. Calhoun rolls in between the ropes outside the ring and just lays there outside the ring. It was over in like 20 seconds. And everybody was like, that's the match? It was a title match. So
my poor friend Tony Jones, our friend Tony Jones, had
he passed away.
One of the shortest matches in the world against Snitsky. I remember seeing that live in person. I was like, yeah, Tony Jones. And, of course, his ring entrance to get down to the ring took longer than his actual time in the ring. He just got kicked in the stomach, did like a pump handle slam by Snitsky, and 1, 2, 3 was over. It was
in the 6 degrees of separation department. Snitsky was Melissa Coates' ex-boyfriend, so
really?
long before Sabu. And Melissa was at my wedding, so somehow there's a connection between me and Snitsky.
Yes, I was technically at the wedding.
Was this guy, sometimes, depending on where he worked as Gene Snitsky. Was he trying to take a page from Gene Kiniski?
I have no idea.
For
Maybe that's
Gene
his real
Simmons.
name. It's not like it's a
Yeah, I
fancy
know.
name.
Why
Maybe
would you
that's
come
his
up with that
legit
as your
name.
work?
No, I don't think it's his real name. I don't think that.
Oh, no.
But it was, it was thrown on him by, the geniuses over at the WWE. But anyway, I just thought, we talk a lot about, lack of entertainment for your dollars, and the people that I hope that people think twice about spending that kind of money for a UWF thing, because that is
Well,
one of the great risks.
I'll tell you honestly, after Pacquiao and Mayweather, we spent $100 for that, a bunch of guys, and it was so god-awful and one-sided with Mayweather just dominating and winning almost every round. I think it helped kill the boxing pay-per-view business because you didn't have too many $100 pay-per-views after that. It was, people just didn't want to risk it. Boxing's very blue collar. It's not like a rich man's sport. $100 is real money to a lot of boxing fans.
I remember in the 70s and 80s having people over, when you could buy pay-per-views. This was after we, in the 70s, we were listening to Muhammad Ali's fights on radio because that's really all you could do. But have people over, it was a real great thing with boxing. But that's what I say, wrestling, I guess, and the arts, I don't see any problem with somebody forking over money to watch a music event or a concert because you're going to get value. Nobody's going to get injured in the concert. Oh, we have to, unless it's like, who was it that somebody was singing? Was it Rod Stewart? They had to shut it down because he was having some heart issues or breathing issues. But typically, and that's why the Stones aren't touring, because I think Keith Richards says, the other two guys, he's not sure they can handle it physically.
Really? Because he's 100 years old? That has nothing else to do with it? Oh, my God.
I'll tell you, it's interesting. As I get older, I grew up in a black neighborhood. I grew up on R&B, jazz, blues, funk, hip-hop. Now I'm finally going to see these aging rock acts live. And basically, Live Nation at the beginning of every summer will have $30 tickets. And I just grab a bunch of them. So 2 nights ago, I saw the Guess Who reunited, and and Don Felder from the Eagles. Now, for $30, you just go and you take a chance. Are these guys still good? Can they still pull it off? And the Guess Who, Burton Cummings, the lead singer, he's 78 years old. His voice is not what it was, but it's good enough, and the band is great enough, and the songs are great enough where you said, hey, I'm glad I saw this. And Don Felder, he's a guitarist. It's not so much even about the vocals. The guy's a virtuoso guitar player. So for $30, you have a great time.
Yeah,
now,
you had a good deal.
The other side of the coin is, a couple months ago, I went to see Patti LaBelle, Shaka Khan, Stephanie Mills, and Gladys Knight.
Wow.
Gladys Knight is cooked, man. People are saying she has the beginning of dementia. That's what they're saying, allegedly. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
She's almost 90, though, isn't she?
She's early 80s. She's standing in front of. She's reading the words. She's reading the words, and the backup singers are kind of like, almost like a patient, like walking her to the right spot and walking, like an elderly person. And she
is elderly.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to her. She is.
Yeah. But here's the other side of it. Bobby Rush, Buddy Guy, Herb Alpert. You're talking 90s, and they're still going strong. People.
I saw Herb Alpert, and this was maybe 12 years ago at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco with his wife, Lanny Hall, who was lead singer for years for Sergio Mendes' band, and that's how she met Herb, because Sergio Mendes, Brazil 66, was under A&M Records that Herb Alpert, ran with his partner. Beloved, the label was for the artist. He had Sting and the Police. He had all of these guys who were tired of all the corporate, and they came to a guy that was a musician owning and repping them and did an ethical job. Herb Alpert was great, and he even sang his 60s song, and then this guy, and then the one from the big follow-up, like whatever year it was like 82, Rise, whatever that album came out.
Yeah.
The song on that where he even has a better vocal, and he nailed it, and she could still sing too. And that was, I mean, I had a comp press ticket, but I would have paid to see that because he was a big idol of mine. So, I mean, have you ever seen Herb Alpert in concert?
I never saw him live.
Oh man, he's good.
He's touring, and everybody's saying it's still great. So I'm going to catch him. Glenn
And he does
Campbell.
so much for the community because he was, kind of a gazillionaire. He has donated tens and almost $100 million to school music for the arts stuff. He really puts his heart where his mouth is. Huh?
So is Russ. Yes, tens of millions. So,
does Han go to these shows with you too?
Sometimes, yeah. We saw Darlene Love a few months ago, 84 years old. She killed.
Wow.
She was great. She hasn't
Wow.
lost a note. It's interesting. You have a veteran performer like Darlene Love. She paces herself at her age. She'll do a few numbers, then she'll sit down and introduce the band, then she'll sit down, show some videos. Then one or two of the backup singers will do a number. She paces herself, but it's still a great show. It's a great show. So, that's what you have to do as you get up there in age. I went to see
It doesn't work that way with wrestling so much.
I went to see Patti LaBelle a few months ago, and she was actually sick with the flu, and she couldn't even talk. And it turned out, I've seen her a dozen times. She had the backup singers and the band just like wailing, and she was like the conductor, and it actually turned out to be a great show. People who had never seen her before were disappointed because they came to see Patti LaBelle, obviously. But, it's, you walk into a show, you never know. I mean, I've sat in outdoor shows and it's a torrential downpour and you're miserable, you're cold and you're wet. You don't know what you're going to experience, but my point is, if you're paying $30, if you're paying $50, if you're paying $75, it's different than paying $5,000 to see Conor McGregor throw one kick and the fight's over. You want to shoot yourself. I mean,
Well, Evan, you've said that for decades. Your best value is supporting the arts. And I think pro wrestling falls into that category because it's choreographed and all of that. And versus a live thing. Now, obviously, I'm not going to steer people away from soccer or baseball, where the big thing with sports and even wrestling is the moments that are created. But I think you can get your money's worth with that. But we've seen some stinker football games, the Super Bowls. Some of them have blown chunks. So.
But I'm not going to spend four figures to go to the Super Bowl either. I'm just.
Yeah.
If I'm spending four figures on a ticket, three figures on a ticket, it's going to be a plane ticket. That's it.
Well, I mean, this tails really well into the discussion we were having, Evan, on your wall with, I forgot that guy's name, but Casey, I forget his last name, Casey something. And
I don't know, what are you referring to?
The discussion he was having about, wanting to go to SummerSlam with his kids and spend probably thousands of dollars. And he said, if that's what he chooses to take his family to, even if he's willing to pay the outrageous rates, because it's going to give him priceless memories with his son and so forth, then it's worth paying what the WWE is charging, something like SummerSlam.
Yeah, I think you're referring to KG Landry, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a podcaster. He's a legitimate guy.
Yes.
He has name guys on his show. His point is you're making memories with your kid, and I've had other guys tell me the same. But look, I don't want to sit in the nosebleeds for WrestleMania, spend $300-400 and watch it on my phone. I just think it reaches a point where you're being ripped off. It's there is a line. Look, if I go to a wrestling match, I want to see a ring. I want to see wrestlers in a ring. I want to see all four sides of the ring, not blocked by equipment. You're paying to see something, you know?
And what KG was saying back was that, no, you're paying for the experience to be there. And I bristle at that because I don't like the idea where they say you can't have fun with your family unless you're spending a lot of money. That the inference that, you aren't a great parent unless you go to Disneyland, unless you take your kids to WrestleMania, unless you go to a World Cup game, unless you go to one of these.
But you can take them to fireworks. You can create the same memories. You can take them to an indie wrestling show where there are a couple of name guys that they might like.
Let me just throw. This is like my pet peeve. All of this. Look, I was just in Orlando last week working on a book project. Literally last week. My friend lives 10 minutes from Disney World. You could literally walk it if you wanted to. That's how close I was. So it's $200 to $300 a day. It's 100 degrees, literally 100 degrees. Yeah. I'm not exaggerating. And every couple of hours, it's like a torrential downpour. Okay, so I'm like, it's like punishment. Besides the price, it's like I'm gonna slog around in 100-degree heat, then get soaked. I mean, I'm talking torrential downpour, different rain than New York. And I'm like, this just isn't fun to me. I just don't want to do that. And yeah, maybe if it was $50 or $100, okay, I'll take a chance.
But you had a good time. You went to the free Disney park, the free area, right?
Yeah, but that's a glorified mall, Disney Springs. I mean, I understand why people like it. It's colorful. But you really want to go on the rides at Disney World and the attractions. Oh, yeah.
But do you really? Because going on those rides requires like a 45-minute to an hour and a half commitment to just stand there in the torrential downpour.
But now you can pay to get the bands.
Yeah,
and jump the line, which is crazy. You're already paying, and then they try to sell you on this extra thing that's like another $85 to not wait as long. That's kind of insulting.
It's twice. It basically is double the price of the admission. So you're already paying $200. Then you pay another $200. So it's $400 per person to go.
I tell you, I love Disney. I grew up as a Disney kid in Southern California, but The Rock, all the effort he put in, and he put in a ton of effort. I mean, the most press I've seen a guy do all over the U.S. and then all over the world, Singapore, the U.K., everywhere. And it didn't even come close to the first weekend to monetary expectations. Disney is getting it.
You're talking about Moana?
Moana, the live-action Moana, or Moana 2, scene for scene, it's almost the same as the cartoon, full-fledged, Pixar-type art, but not hand-drawn like Pinocchio or Bambi or the great stuff, Snow White. And now they're getting a bit in the ass because they put out too many of these live-action movies. The Pinocchio live action didn't do well. The Snow White one, people were panicking.
Huge disaster. Huge disaster.
And I'm not wishing that on them because I love Disney, but
it's totally unoriginal. I mean, talk about a totally unoriginal.
It's in-house.
idea.
It's like something else for somebody outside to say, "Oh, okay, let's do an Addams Family remake of the TV show." But when you're creative, you can dink around with it. Or the Dragnet movie that had Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd was good. It wasn't anything like the Broderick Crawford or whatever that Highway Patrol show was in the 60s, early 60s. You better create some original stuff. And that's why, like the Minions, it wasn't derivative or anything like that. It's doing well. Disney is having a hard time. They're having a hard time. I'm shocked because I'm a DC Comics Superman, Batman guy, Wonder Woman, and those movies don't even come close to the Marvel Universe. Who owns that one? Is it NBC?
Oh, that's Disney. Disney owns Marvel now.
Disney owns Marvel?
Yeah, they do.
But wait, who owns the DC thing?
That's a good question. I think that might be part of the Paramount thing. I mean, it was
Well, whoever.
Warner
I thought it was
for a while.
Disney, but yeah,
somewhere down the line, it all kind of traces.
I have all of these different price ranges with the ticket stubs, and you had to have A through E coupons in the '60s and '70s at Disneyland. It was 15 at the most starting in the '80s, 15 for kids, and like 35 to 45 for adults. And Lord knows what it is now. It's over 200 a day.
200 to 300 a day.
And you're not even getting the fast pass to bypass the line.
And you can't do it in one day. It's 4 big parks. So same with Universal. I'm sure they talk to each other. Let's keep the prices comparable because they're almost exactly the same. And I was in Orlando for 8 days. I didn't bother with either of them. I don't like to feel like a money mark. It's not that I don't have 200.
Well, what other type that are less costly? Do they have other amusement parks or attractions Alligator World?
I'll tell you my entertainment while I was there. I went to Dave and Buster's to meet Dave Scheffler from No DQ, and we watched the WWE Saudi show. And then I went to Ty Tribbett, the Gospel Singers Church. I'm the only Jew on vacation who goes to church because I like gospel music. The guy's famous, and his church happened to be in Orlando. So I met Bobby Rydell, the wrestling pastor, not the singer. He's a wrestling pastor. He's colorful, and besides that, I went to that Disney Springs and had dinner with Michael Scott, who was on the show last week. So this is the nice thing about wrestling. Basically, you could plop in like any major city in the world, and there's like wrestling people and you connect with them, and you bullshit with them. You have dinner. It's nice. It's like a community. It's like that's a good side of wrestling. The bad side is when I say something like, the disgusting greed of WWE or TKO, inevitably somebody's fighting for them, the corporate apologist. And so I'm on my page last week. My page, a stranger comes on, and he's so intently defending WWE and TKO that he's making fun of my appearance. Okay? I'm a senior citizen. Motherfucker, you should look this good when you're a senior citizen. No, really. This is a young guy. When I was a kid, we were taught respect your elders. This is out the window. Now you're old, you have Alzheimer's, you're senile, you don't know what you're talking about. I've forgotten more about wrestling than some of these young fans, okay? I mean, I'm talking in general, but you know nothing because they're obsessed with it all, and they've adopted a ruthless, greedy WWE as their home team. It's like the Mets or the Giants or the...
what politician does that remind me of, if we can compare?
Yes. I mean, it's not a surprise that, Trump...
Did you think, wait a minute, I was shocked that Lindsey Graham went before Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, that's a daily duo right there.
I know. And those people in that orbit, and that's all I'm going to say, but if you're in his orbit, his name that will not be mentioned, like Whoopi Goldberg, if you're in his orbit, it seems like the reverse Midas touch catches you. You get afflicted, bad things happen. If you're female, you get fired.
Well, it's like the portrait of Dorian Gray. Everything around him winds up, decaying,
the shit,
turning into dust. Yeah.
Let me just say something on this. Okay. As a kid, I was weaned on don't speak ill of the dead. Now, almost to the point where your parents would like it's bad luck to speak ill of the dead. Mm. So this is what I was taught. This is going back a long time now. So I don't want to be like Trump, who one of his political opponents died, and he was saying like how much he hated the guy. He actually used the word hate.
That was James Comey, right?
It's not just James Comey. What about, he said the same thing about Rob Reiner.
Yeah. So my point is, if I don't like somebody, I'm not going to attack them, while the body's still warm, It's just, history will do enough with some of these guys, believe me.
Because I gotta go, Evan. Let me ask Evan about his shirt. Is that a Harley Race shirt with the crown on it?
No, it's a soccer shirt. My cousin brings in soccer shirts for me.
I want to plug something quickly before.
Wait, I just want to say, my mom always said, you can speak ill of the dead because what are they going to do about it? So anyway,
absolutamente not. Sheldon Goldberg, who he's going to come back on the show. His fifth book, I can't even get my ass in gear on the Tolless book, but The Warmth of the Sun, which comes from one of the greatest songs ever by the Beach Boys.
It might actually come through.
Yeah, the Beach Boys, that was the impetus for this, or the inspiration, one of the greatest harmonic songs, way, it's up there with Beatles and Everly Brothers. The Warmth of the Sun is fifth and last final to this chapter, the Pro Wrestling Family.
And let me say something about The Warmth of the Sun. It's a very special book. It's invisible. You can't, Mike's holding it up. Because of the powers of the sun, the book is invisible.
Well, that's because of the chroma key stuff. Yes. But he also put in a fanny pack. Sheldon knows how to market. He put a fanny pack in this with... you could at least see that,
When I sell my books, I just include a photo of my fanny. So, yeah.
I want to recommend two other things. If you haven't seen Hacks on HBO Max or HBO, the season is ending. I finally caught on to it. I just watched 15 minutes. I couldn't stop laughing with Gene Smart. Amazing show. The whole cast is great. And Rental Movie with Brendan Fraser.
Rental Family.
Rental Family, correct. I'm sorry. And Brendan Fraser, who's done some amazing work since he won his Academy Award. I mean, he was in The Mummy, and I think he was in those Jay West. Yeah, well, he was in The Whale, but he wasn't. He
won the
Oscar. He was in George of the Jungle. He was in George of the Jungle, a remake of the.
He didn't win an Oscar for that.
I don't think so. He was in some other stinkers. This one is so great because there are. I tell you, there are pro wrestling scenes in it. It's all in Japan, of course, and that brings me to my point: is pro wrestling, specifically for us in the late '60s, '70s, it bonded us together, but it taught us geography. It taught us I started mapping out, is Hokkaido near this place in Japan, or these prefectures? I learned what prefectures even are. I learned all the geography and culture in Mexico thanks to wrestling, and all over the U.S. I knew where Wilmington, North Carolina was in relation to other cities there, Charlotte, because of pro wrestling. It brought people together. And, cultural nuances, like if you know all about poutine, so if you go up to Montreal or even parts of Ontario, you know what that food item is because of wrestling. Let me
just quickly tell you some wrestling geography. Parts unknown, where the masked wrestlers, their masked wives, their masked kids, and their masked dogs live. That's where the brick-and-mortar WWE Hall of Fame is located, because they got a tax break over there in parts unknown.
That's where the refund office is. That's where you go to get your refund.
That's
and
right.
Before I go, last thing, Mick Foley, as Cactus Jack, used to bill himself in the early 90s as from Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. I didn't know there was a New York Times did a big article on Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, where it referenced that very quickly, but that the name came from the Bob Barker TV show that preceded, Truth or Consequences in the '60s. Before what was the big show that he did? On CBS in the mornings.
Price is Right.
Yeah, Price is Right. It was the big show. It was on black and white, but I thought he was even better on Truth or Consequences. So that's where that town got its name. Very cool. And, it's, like Parts Unknown. What is the state that Parts Unknown is? That part I don't have down yet. Where is Parts Unknown actually located?
It's unknown.
It's unknown.
I've driven through it several times.
I assume it's in South America, though, because most of the wrestlers speak Spanish.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
think
that's where fictitious title changes happen, like Pat Patterson getting the very first IC title, or Patera getting it, and then
if you've
who was the
driven
first one? Was it Patera or Pat Patterson?
Patterson.
Yeah, the one
Yeah.
that the fictitious tournament down there
Yeah.
in Rio. There was another one like that too. They also claimed it happened in Rio, where the America's title was born when our Los Angeles promotion dropped the WWA World Wrestling Alliance office, and they joined the NWA, and then they had to create a new strap. They didn't have the World Singles or Tag titles, so they came up with the America's Championship, and they said, "Oh, Coloso Colosetti was the first champion in Rio." No such thing. It was worse than a phantom title change.
Well, are you? I wanted to recommend one other show since you were recommending one. Have you guys seen Margot Has Money Troubles?
Yes,
No.
it's excellent with wrestling involved. There was
Yes,
the ladies of wrestling. Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. No,
And Elle
it's
Fanning, right?
not
Is it
Nicole
Elle Fanning?
Kidman.
Which Fanning is in it?
It's
One of the two sisters.
Ellie Fanning. It's got
Yeah,
Ellie Fanning in it.
Ellie, okay.
And it's got Michelle Pfeiffer is who you're thinking of.
But
Michelle
Nicole Kidman plays one of the wrestlers, the senior wrestler.
Oh, then it's a spoil. I haven't seen her I haven't
she's
watched
in
that
it.
episode just yet.
She's in it, and she looks pretty hot.
And Keith Olbermann as a retired wrestler, and there's a lot, but it's more serious. I mean, I thought it would be kind of a humorous thing, but it's a pretty serious show about a girl that gets pregnant, while she's a student by a teacher, and
She's
her
got to
father.
make money.
Yeah, she has to make money, but her father is a retired pro wrestler and comes to move in with her, but he's also a recovering drug addict, which is an interesting element to the whole thing. So it's and Overman is in good shape, and I think he plays an ex-wrestler really well. I didn't really, he has this full beard and he looks very rugged, and the only thing he's really missing is like all the tattoos that all the other wrestlers have.
What network is that on Netflix?
That is Apple. That is
Apple Plus.
Yes. So yet another thing you got to subscribe to. But if you haven't seen it,
this is worse than cable TV. I thought the world was going to come to an end, and then I adopted cable pretty easily, and then then I had to get
you only have to pay one
satellite TV
thing.
on top
You only
of
have
it.
to pay one bill, for cable TV.
Yeah,
And
but
whatever
now
videos you rented.
they need to just have all of these streamers on one. Bring it all back to cable, and then you broke away, and now it's crazy.
The exact opposite. It's fragmenting more than ever now. And
well, so what are Evan and I? If we don't have Apple Plus, what are we supposed to do? How can we watch this?
Panic within yourselves.
No, I'm not going to panic.
See it.
I'm going to take whenever they offer a free 1 month. I'm going to take it. I'm going to cram as much as I can, and then I'm going to be done with it.
That's a good point. Yeah, if they ever have a preview day or something like that, weekend or something where you get to watch their shows for a weekend. Or eventually, sometimes like Apple will sell that show to another network like Hulu or to Tubi. Or maybe not Netflix, but like one of these lower echelon networks like FX or a regular cable channel to recoup their money. The big question is, it's an interesting enough show, but will they continue it? Netflix and Apple have this tendency to get excited about a show, run it for 2 seasons, and then just let it wither on the vine. And not make another show.
More so Netflix, which pulled the plug on Glow. I don't know why they have all these billions of dollars.
That was such a good show. But I loved Heels, too. And they did the same
Heels
thing to Heels. Heels ends on a cliffhanger. The worst part about Heels is that it completely ended on a cliffhanger. And, now if they ever go back and bring it back, I mean, it's going to be hard to, explain why everybody is, 3 years older than when they last saw them.
That one old cantankerous dude, that was totally Michael Hayes.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's Michael Hayes and Ric Flair kind of combined.
Yeah, thrown together because, he exposed himself on a plane.
Yes, and we'd get drunk all the time. I also kind of thought
that was a great show. CM Punk and his wife AJ Lee had a little guest thing.
Yeah, and in the second season, when they knew they were wrapping up, they just said, well, we're just going to just sit here and talk about inside wrestling stuff for the next 3 episodes. I mean, they like, really trim back like the storyline stuff and just said, we need to say these things about what running indie feds are like. So we're just going to go on and just, say it all here now. And when we're done, we'll
before I go, Russ, did you think the nudity was needed? There was a lot of nudity in that first season with the blonde.
You always need nudity.
But he was pretty hot. When the girl
the beautiful female blonde wrestler, and then the lead character, the guy who created the show, his wife, the character who played, or the actress that played his wife, she there was a lot of full frontal stuff going on.
Yeah, well, you'd think that would have kept it on the air, if nothing else, but but they couldn't hold on. So anyway, I guess we'll see you next week, Mike, and Evan and I will carry on for another couple minutes here.
You guys have a great show, everybody.
You too.
Peace.
Glad you survived the forest.
Peace, love, and wrestling. And there's another documentary. There is a Burning Man documentary on HBO. Fantastic. There's the Robin Bird documentary. Fantastic. And there's now one on Don Cornelius and Soul Train. I forget if it's HBO. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think I sent you.
I heard about it. Look, here's another point I'd like to make before Mike leaves. Journalism is telling two sides to a story. Don Cornelius was a incredible businessman, an incredible, what he did with the culture, the music was unbelievable. On the other hand, there were some pretty ugly scandals with him, which are within a Google, really ugly stuff. And because he's on the good list, a lot of times it's not addressed. Ditto Jim Brown, who did some great things as far as civil rights and such, but had some real ugly incidents with women. Okay? Now, if you're telling a story, you really do have to address all sides, and that's, I make documentaries. You give a complete picture of somebody. That's why many times you watch a film like that Michael Jackson biopic where there were no scandals. There were no scandals. There's no Janet Jackson. She doesn't exist. And he lives at the end of the movie. It's like an alternate galaxy Michael Jackson biopic. He lives
made the
at
most
the end
money
of
of any biopic, whatever it's called. Made the most money in history. It's crazy.
Well, we saw that kind of thing in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where you have pardon me, when you have the Quentin Tarantino.
He's not having a heart attack on air, is he?
Yeah, no. When you have Quentin Tarantino.
I have a heart attack because I've got to leave.
Quentin Tarantino totally rewriting what happened, in one, Charles Manson was not thrown in a pool. He did not die.
Hitler didn't die in a fire in a
no, and he didn't die. Although at least Hitler got shot. Charles Manson did not get killed by flamethrower.
He should have.
He would have guessed. I agree, he should have. But you have like a totally gross. You have the director bothered to try to do all these things historical, and then he goes and does something totally outrageous in the ending that is totally non-historical, and it sort of makes you wonder why if you're going to be fictitious about the whole thing, be fictitious about the whole thing. Don't even bother to try to do anything historical about it.
Yeah, I
was not a fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was anywhere near as good as Inglourious Basterds.
The one
I did not like was The Hateful Eight.
I like that. I enjoyed that.
All of those characters were so loathsome, you had nobody to root for.
It's true, but the amount of level of like creepiness that he was able to inflict by sticking it all in one room, I thought it was a fantastic like one room drama type thing.
I love westerns, and even spaghetti westerns where they're kind of like anti-heroes, but you're still rooting for Clint Eastwood or Tony Anthony or whoever the lead is, Franco Nero. But this is why you should all read my book, Grindhouse, Art House, and Wrestling Flicks. We address all these films. But my point is, in Hateful Eight, they were all disgusting human beings. All of them. So it was hard to get emotionally invested, at least for me. I
mean, there's truth in advertising. They called it the Hateful Eight. They didn't say 7 hateful people and one that you might kind of like.
Yeah. No, I understand. But my point is,
going into it, you kind of know you're not going to love everybody in the film. They kind of spoil that by the title right there.
Yeah. I mean, you have to root for somebody.
I wanted to also throw this out there. Have you seen Blue-Eyed Samurai by any chance?
No, but I saw one, what was it, 400 Samurai, where the guy kills like 400 samurais. It was crazy.
Is there like a counter in the corner of the film?
He's just like chopping them all down.
Is there like a thing that just like goes 1, then 2, then 3?
No, but you just see one guy after another. It's insane. I forget the exact title, something like that. 400.
Blue-Eyed Samurai is an animated movie, a series on Netflix. But giving your penchant for kung fu and, well, you know, karate/sword.
Yeah, I grew up on Shaw Brothers, Golden Harvest. Yeah.
I think you would like Blue-Eyed Samurai. It's set in Japan in the 1500s. So it's definitely more of a historical series. But it's beautifully drawn, and the action is top notch. I mean, I know you don't watch as much animated stuff as I do, but I think
I'll check it out.
After you start watching it for a little while, you kind of forget that it's animated. It's so well done that you're just engaged in the story. You're not even thinking, oh, wait a minute, this is a cartoon. You know?
I'll check it out. And while we're on the topic of movies, let me plug a few. I saw Osgood Perkins' Keeper, okay? Osgood Perkins is a horror director. He makes some really quirky, eerie, creepy stuff, and this really qualifies. You'll either love it or you'll hate it because it's a little slow. It's a slow build, but the last 15 or so minutes are utterly insane. It's called Keeper. And I've watched a bunch of horror movies recently. Give me a second, I'm thinking. So I'm scrolling down my feed because I reviewed a couple of them. But Together, absolutely wild movie. This couple, they literally combine, their bodies mesh together. That's why they call it Together. And it's Alison Brie from Glow. We all love her in Glow, and she's always great. Yeah, Dave Franco and Alison Brie together. So don't miss that also.
Okay.
And that got rave reviews. Keeper got mixed reviews, but Together is really like trippy. I think you guys would like it.
Okay, well that's a good good call there, and so I guess I am not excited about despite our friend that was talking about spending the money to go to SummerSlam. Is there any match that's coming up in SummerSlam that you're just like, oh boy, I can't wait to see it?
I don't even know the matches. It's Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, right?
I think so. Yeah.
And it's Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar again, and Femi's going to win. So I don't know. I'm sure the Reigns match.
I don't know what
good.
CM Punk's going to be doing, and we didn't talk about that. Let's talk for a few minutes about the Sami Zayn getting punked completely. And literally, figuratively and literally punked by CM. I mean, Tommy Rich is like saying, now that's a transitional championship right there. That's a transitional champion. I mean, that just, I mean, obviously, if you're Zayn, you'll take the title. If someone hands you a title, you take it. But to lose it, what,
9
days
days
later? 9 days. 9 days later, why? There's no respect for that. You couldn't wait until SummerSlam to have CM Punk be in a title match with Zayn and do it on a pay-per-view and at least give Zayn the dignity of defending his title on a premium event type thing.
I agree. I mean, I'm a big ROH fan. That era where Nigel McGuinness was champ and Bryan Danielson and Nigel would have these classic matches, and Zayn was El Generico at the time, and Kevin Steen, they would have these unbelievable matches. Ring of Honor in the 2000s was amazing. I think it was every bit as good, if not better, than AEW. Their house shows were incredible in New York.
You look at all the names that were involved.
Oh yeah. Seth Rollins was there, and Tyler Black, and
and
Claudio.
My friend Mark Smith.
Yeah, Bison. I saw Bison in New York. So I've been a fan of Zayn's for a long time. And, look, here's my take on it. You got Triple H with the whole body beautiful fetish, him and Vince McMahon going back decades, Sami Zayn is like an everyman. He's a middle-aged guy with the dad bod. He's a little disheveled. He looks like every third wrestling fan, basically. They could have done a lot with him. He could have been like the underdog champion who somehow kept winning, in spite of these big monstrous guys, bigger than him, stronger than him. I think they could have done a lot with him rather than just, here's 9 days. And even worse. Okay, I'm watching the match, and there's 2 or 3 minutes of wrestling. Then there's a 3-minute commercial break. Then there's 2 or 3 minutes of wrestling, and there's a 2.5-minute commercial break. I saw the numbers on the screen. I'm not making it up. Then it's the finish. At least have the respect to show the match. It's a title match. A title's changing. They butchered the match. It's just
like, I'm saying that it should have been on a pay-per-view. It should have been on one of the pay-per-views instead of trying to shoehorn it in on a weekday where very few people are watching. It's so disrespectful. Look, if this was like The Miz and like his 6th title reign or something like that, between title reign 4 and title reign 5, okay, how many times do you have the Intercontinental Championship? Like, if you do that in one of his mid-championship runs, then okay, that's excusable. But for a guy like Zayn, who's waited so long to get some kind of appreciation from the company, it is really like, like getting the company parking space for one day, and then the next day you park in the same space, you get a ticket, or you get your car towed away.
Well, there was a post online today. I have no idea if it's true or not. I'm just reporting it. They said that he was asked to take a pay cut like everybody else. So I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just saying somebody reported that. So
and would it surprise you if he was?
No, because they're asking these. That's what I heard. The same with Sheamus and a lot of these guys. They're not going to take a 50 or 60% pay cut. They're going to go elsewhere.
Which means AEW, which that's just a bag that's ripping apart.
Or Japan, or there's other places.
Mexico, I guess, but it's
Indies.
Puerto
Rico. Some of these guys, a handful of these guys were making it on the Indies.
It's hard though.
It's very hard. It's very hard.
And when you're used to getting the money that you were getting from the WWE. It's really hard to make that back up, from the Indies. So, most guys that we know that are in the Indies have a day job. you know, and they very, very few of them support themselves just by doing wrestling gigs. You just don't make enough. You make maybe $200 on a weekend. You know, even if you're a big name, you're probably not going to pull in more than 1,000 because most vets don't have that kind of money to throw. And or you maybe find a lucky smart mark, you know, or smart mark, a dumb mark,
Money mark.
your money mark who's willing to throw 2,000 or 3,000 at you, but they won't do that for long, and they won't be able to do it for very many times.
Well, now
So-
they could also do the autograph circuit. So they would basically be like weekend warriors, try to make as much as they can from Friday to Sunday. The agents bring these guys in, and they, you know, basically they run them from place to place to place to place, 5-6 gigs from Friday to Sunday, and
That's if there's the demand. Do you think someone like Sami Zayn is going to get the demand, or Sheamus is going to get the demand?
straight off at WWE for a while, maybe for 6 months a year, but after that, everybody's got the autograph, everybody met the guy, and then it's going to slow
And a lot of
down
people
bit.
forget about who the hell you were.
Yeah,
You know, at least
Sami Zayn's been out there for 20 years.
But
He's
the
not
fans
like
are the way they are, and it's like if you weren't on the show last week, you know, you're dead to them. You know, I mean, not every fan, but I think a lot of fans these days have the memory collection because the WWE also doesn't spend any time, you know, talking about its past and at all, you know, pumping up the achievements of previous wrestlers that weren't named Hulk Hogan. You know, if you used to work for the WWE, most of the time you get your Hall of Fame thing, and then you're never talked about again. Like for the, you know, any other program, any other, you know, show, they don't mention you at all.
Well, this is a little before your time, but in New York City, Pedro Morales was like a god, and
Yeah,
they
I
almost
remember
never
Pedro.
mentioned. They almost never mentioned
I
him.
know. No,
And
first
this
guy to
guy
hold all
was
three
world
titles.
champion for 3 years. You
Well,
know,
first guy to hold all three titles.
yeah, and he
World,
was a intercontinental champion. But he helped legitimize the IC title.
Sure.
You know, so
Sure.
he was just loved in New York. And
Well, we talk about, you know, how just Ivan Koloff was, and, you know, how, you know, in the legacy wing, you know, guys get 90 seconds, but if you're Stephanie McMahon or Triple H, you get 90 minutes, you know, and because of that, you know, these guys, when they go back out on the circuit, they don't get the kind of adoration because a lot of wrestling fans, I mean, you and I are an exception, and the historians we have on the show are an exception, but a lot of times they just forget who they are, and it's a real tragedy. Anyway.
famous fleeting.
Yes, but anyway, we are at the end of the show for the week. It was fun gabbing about this stuff, and
After the show, I got to talk to you.
Yes, I will talk to you too, so we will say goodbye to everyone in the meantime, and we'll see everyone next week. Good night, everyone.